Welcome again to Dave Blaze in the green room, which is
Yep.
turning a bit fiery. We've had a pre-broadcast discussion, and
Yes, we
I
did.
didn't think you were radical, but you are. And I thought you were content with mowing the lawn in the backyard, and that was the way you felt about things. Let them all pass over. But you're radical. That's good, isn't it? We've got to be radical as Christians, surely.
Well, we have to be able to identify what's going on and not just follow these arbitrary podcasters and posters online. X.com, that's not the real world.
Well, uh, talking of X.com and talking of Elon Musk and how did he become a
SpaceX.
trillionaire? Well, it's going to be worse than we thought. It's well over 2 trillion. He's now worth. Now he's a gambler, isn't he? Like Trump. That's why they get on, off.
Well, yeah. So SpaceX, has the reusable rockets. And also it has Starlink, so which is delivering a lot of internet to all areas of the earth, and so that's a lot of the value right there. But I got to tell you, I really think we're going to shortly see Elon merge Tesla, not just because of the electric vehicles, but also the robotics. He'll merge that into SpaceX, and then you'll see XAI also merged into SpaceX. So it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal.
He's an ideas man, and some people are now saying he's got Asperger's. He's certainly on the spectrum. Many geniuses are. They know what to do. I mean, this Starlink satellite system, although he's
Yeah,
had problems, there's 9,000 of them up there, Dave.
yeah.
There's not a lot of people can do
Well,
that.
so they say.
Well, it certainly helped people in Europe because the broadband situation is not great in many parts of Europe.
Well, right. And in the United Kingdom, you only had what, the BBC,
Broadband, no, it's British Telecom that have
British
provided that,
Telecom.
but they
Okay,
have,
so that's all you ever had.
well, it's a monopoly, and it continues to grind to a halt. Here in Spain, we have bags of broadband, and it's a good job because we're in the broadcasting business. We've no
Right.
problems here. But I tell you what, in Britain, it's a disaster. And if we're supposed to be technologically advanced, there's no way that can happen with the amount of broadband we got. People struggle. People are streaming the whole time.
Yeah. Well, you know what happened? Hughes Corporation, which is Dish Network, and with the Dish TV. So what they did was is they were the first ones to attempt this by bouncing having a dish that you mounted on the top of your house or whatever it is. But the problem with them is they didn't have enough satellites. The technology wasn't that good. So every time you had a cloud passing over, you lost reception. But Starlink is much better than that, and gives SpaceX a lot of its value.
I am impressed actually when I look at SpaceX and I see a rocket coming down to its original takeoff position. That is
Yeah,
astonishing to witness and to even think about that. And well, of course, he's a physicist. He's not in any sense behind the wall and just
right.
taking a gamble. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He certainly does. So we'll
Well,
see. Investors on Wall Street will never bet against Elon Musk.
well, thinking of him in connection with Trump, has it healed behind the scenes, or is there acrimony there?
I think as long as you see JD Vance moving forward, and so on. I think that's a good thing. And I think that because don't forget, one of the reasons that JD Vance is the vice president is because of Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. So, those two guys were instrumental in bringing JD Vance into the administration. And Vance is a good guy. I mean, he's got good ideas and so on. I like Rubio, frankly. Marco Rubio is terrific, right off the top of his head.
Is he more Trump-like? Is he more hawkish?
I don't think so much that he's hawkish. I think that he's just got a really good, like a really good knowledge base of how how the world societies are operating. I mean, don't forget, he was a member of the Gang of Eight. He was, buddies with McCain and Lindsey Graham, traveling around. So, I mean, Rubio's had some career.
Yeah, we'll go over the other side of the world briefly, and we're talking about Yu Min Zin, Chinese, American, and he's been arrested. China are good at that. Anybody that smells a bit of a spy, they put it. There's 200, I'm told, in his position in China. And when the Donald went over there, it was to talk about Iran, obviously, and oil. He did mention about the people being sequestered by various authorities. Oh, we suspect you of spying. Now, it's the thinnest of arguments that they get people for. In this particular case, young student guy and Burmese, almost, which is right next to China, and he led a think tank. Oh, well, that's enough to get you behind bars. Why cannot America or the West in general do something about China? Have they got that much power because of their trading?
Okay, so first of all, let's look at how the situation actually is. The United States is here, right? And China's way down here as far as size and monetary system, as far as their economies, GDP, and so on. The economic numbers that China puts out, when they're bad, they don't put out any numbers. And even when they're good, they're not really that good, right? And so you can never trust what the Chinese are saying is going on in their economy. So as far as power goes, President Trump and the Trump administration, they know where the United States stands as opposed to China. That's why we've booted them out of the Western Hemisphere. And even in the Panama Canal, the president sent Larry Fink of BlackRock down there, who basically kicked the Chinese out of the ports. So now the United States is in full control of the Panama Canal. We're in full control. We threw them out. We threw the Chinese out of Venezuela. As a matter of fact, we went in there and extracted Maduro while the Chinese representatives were right there in the compound. So we threw them out of there. We're throwing them out of Cuba. Cuba's about to collapse, and we'll go in and we'll help the Cuban people, and we'll take that over. So and now we got them by the throat again with Iran. They were buying all the oil, cheap oil from Iran, and now they can't. And they're sending a lot of the ships over through the Gulf of America to Texas and Louisiana to load up with our oil. So as far as the Chinese having a lot of power, it's got nothing to do with that. These are very paranoid. The CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, these are very paranoid people. The communists, that's how you got to be with communism. They're very paranoid, and anyone that doesn't fall in line, they get rid of.
Well, we'll swing back to California. That's an odd state. And some people say odd people are living there. It's very progressive, liberal, And people, for right or wrong, are suggesting that the voting system, which gives everybody, as I understand it, a chance for a postal vote, and then it can be 5, 7 days afterwards before we get the result, it's open for abuse. Are you worried about that, Dave?
No. What I'm worried about is Republicans being lazy and not utilizing all of the voting mechanisms that are available, whether it's mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, early voting, or voting on election day. The Democrats, they have this down to a science as far as mail-in ballots. Now, is there some fraud and abuse? Yes, of course. There's some fraud and abuse, but there's not enough fraud and abuse to overturn the winner of the election. Democrats know how to ballot harvest far better than the Republicans. They'll go into homeless shelters and nursing homes and up and down apartment projects and so on and collect the votes. Republicans aren't going to do that. So then when the Republican loses, they cry foul and that it's all fraud and it's all rigged and everything else. No, you just didn't play the game as well as the other side did. So now the scheme is because they're never going to utilize mail-in ballots like the Democrats do, they want to get rid of mail-in ballots.
Yeah, seems reasonable, I suppose, at that level. Now,
Let's uh,
talking,
let's let's remember something. Trump won in 2024 with the mail-in ballots,
yeah,
right?
but he certainly kicked off at the term before that. I should have got there, he
Well,
said.
that was the one before that because the Democrats knew what they were doing. And
So Trump was
they
wrong.
understood the system and mail-in ballots are the law of the land.
So
It's
it
faced
was fair.
25 court challenges or whatever. They've lost every single one. Mail-in ballots are the law of the land.
So
Deal with it.
2016, basically, he said it was a fix.
Look, you got to realize something. President Trump has been in the media. He's been with the world. He's been with the McMahons and the wrestling scene and all of that. That's it. That's his shtick. That's his shtick. If Trump won 359 million Americans and there was 100 Americans that voted the other side, he would say it was rigged. Those people must have cheated. Because
Yeah, okay.
that's what that's his shtick with that.
I thought
But
we
he
had.
won in 2024 because you want to know how what put him over? Lara Trump got in there as the co-head of the RNC, the Republican National Committee. Okay. When she got in there, she realized, oh boy, unless these Republicans start utilizing mail-in ballots, we're going to lose again. So she started coming out and saying, we've got to utilize all of the available methods of voting. And then she told the president that. And she said, look, if you don't stop promoting mail in ballots, you're going to lose. So he did. He said, whatever you got to do, mail the ballot in, go on the early vote on election, whatever you got to do, but get out there and vote. And the people did, and he won. Same system.
Let's go to Ukraine finally,
Yeah.
because we've got here a situation where lots of Russians are losing their lives.
Yeah,
And
and Putin is trying to replenish his own population by stealing Ukrainian children from their parents, bringing them into Russia, giving them Russian names, and then putting them up for adoption. It has become so epidemic that the First Lady Melania Trump had to write an open letter to President Putin asking him to please return the children to their parents. So she's now working with the first lady of Ukraine to have this happen. And of course, the Russians are putting out all the propaganda dummies in our own government saying that there were biolabs and there was this, that, and the other. Give me a break. Those biolabs are there to destroy Russian munitions that might have radioactivity on it. I'm telling you, this whole thing on the far right is they need to be in a mental hospital. That's what really needs to happen. The far right in this country needs like to be in sanitariums because they've lost all ability to think critically, really dig down into what's going on, and they believe every tidbit of propaganda coming out of Russia. It's despicable.
Well, at the moment, of course, the wise kids on the block are saying, "Oh, he's had a heart attack," referring to Putin. He was found on the floor by his KGB friends. But don't forget, we had this 3 or 4 years ago when he had cancer.
I know. Remember, he had cancer. Right now, then the heart attack. And I remember they were saying, "Oh, he's walking funny. He doesn't move one arm," and all of this stuff. That's more Western propaganda. They're just trying to make him look weak, and he's trying to drive the Westerners crazy. And it's all a game. It's all a crazy game. You got to stay out of this and really dig down into what's going on.
Well, what's going on? Regretfully, we've mentioned about the loss of life on both sides.
Yep,
The Russian side, particularly, because
yep.
they've taken to street fighting. They have got a bit more ground, but it's at a phenomenal cost. Meanwhile, Ukraine has gone into fighting with various new missiles, which they've developed themselves, low-flying missiles. They're taking out refineries deep into Russia,
Yeah,
and they now own the Black Sea. They've literally sunk over 100 warships. The Black Sea is theirs.
I was not, I hate to say it, but I was not aware of that. You're breaking news right now to me.
Well, there you go. Lots of things are escaping slowly, but it's the fifth year, I repeat, the fifth year of this terrible battle. And it looks on one level that they're starting talking via third parties. It's too much for either side. Maybe we'll get agreement whereby the Donbass, which is on the east side, the Russian side, will be given ceded in some form to Russia, and then Russia and Putin can say, "Oh, well, it was all worthwhile." Yeah, but it's not worthwhile for the people who have died and the families that are left
Right,
behind.
right, right. I know.
We've been a bit miserable today, but having said that, there are other good things happening. I believe shortly we may all be saying, thank goodness the Iran situation has been resolved. I don't think it will be resolved, but there will be a deal.
There will be a deal. There will be a deal. Because President Trump said the magic words. He said, "Oh, and I think in a night or two, we're going to just take Kharg Island." And with that, the Iranians were like, "No, no, no, all right, well, we'll figure something out." So the bottom line here is there's going to be all stipulations. The Iranians want the money. See, we sanctioned off billions and billions of dollars from them. And they fooled the Obama administration into giving them the money. Trump's not giving them a dime until they do what they say. And even then, he's going to trickle it in. So he's not going to give them lump sums so they can send the money to Hezbollah so Hezbollah can fire more rockets at Israel. That's not going to happen.
I think I know why we're in this situation. It's down to the monopoly board. It was invented in the States, of course, and it is a board game of sorts. Regretfully, But maybe the Donald is the right man to be in the center of this at the moment. Because let's be honest, Dave, it could have been very sticky in Iran. Maybe it still will. And other people would have put troops on the ground. That would have been fatal.
People would have put troops on the ground, but I'm telling you what's going on and why the communists in this country hate Trump. And you want to call them Marxist, socialist, communist, is all the same thing. They hate him because President Trump is like dismantling through God's help. God is he's on God's side, and we dismantled the government in Venezuela. Now that country is going to be able to prosper. They're getting the money from the oil sales. We threw the Chinese out of the Panama Canal. We threw them out of Venezuela with the Russians, and we're throwing the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranians out of Cuba. So all of these things are going on, and that I don't think any other administration ever would have tackled.
Sounds like heaven on earth. We'd better leave it there. We'll be on for another hour. Thank you so much, Dave.
All right, Rodney. That sounds good.